Um, and she'll do it. So I'm ready when you are. You ready?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. Welcome all. My name is Kaleo Kina, aka Agent K out here in Virginia Beach, and I have the pleasure and honor of being a guest host today on the Legends of Be Wealthy and the Scale to Wealth program. And so I'll be standing in today for Caitlin Mitchell, and we have an amazing guest. I reached out to multiple people looking for a high talent to interview, and this person came highly recommended from multiple directions. Her name is Allison Greco of the Greco Group out there in South Carolina. And so she has an amazing story to share. She runs multiple businesses. And so I don't want to steal some of her story. And so without further ado, I'll get into the intro. Allison, in 3 minutes, share your background, what businesses you're involved in. Tell us about your world.
Yeah, so my background is I was a biology major in college, pre-med, got out in 2010, which was not such a great market for getting into the business world. And I ended up getting picked up by a company locally that was doing research and development on dual fuel engines. And so I started with a Class 8 over-the-road truck, dual fuel engines, kind of research and development company. That went under. It was not a great economy. Went to Greenville, South Carolina, and I found myself selling locomotives, which was interesting. I was one of the only females in the industry that I knew, and I had to figure out a way to just make it work. Ended up getting into sales kind of haphazardly and figured that out from the ground up. And not being home with my family. I'm a big homebody and very close with my family. So my husband and I, we moved back to Beaufort, South Carolina, and I was consulting for that firm and thought I should get into real estate. And that was the end of 2015. I got my license. I hung it at a boutique firm. And ever since then, my goal has just been to double down every year and figure out new
so like if you do like a time
new ways to move forward and to move my business forward. And so about 3 years ago, I learned through just, MREA and understanding real estate at a higher level, how to grow a team. And I fail forward every day. There's a lot of lessons in that. And I'm learning a lot as my team and I grow together. And so that's kind of me in a nutshell from college on, I guess. Real estate's consumed a lot of it. And I've started to learn what means a lot to me and what means a lot to my team and how to do that. And so last year we did about 90 million for 210 transactions. And this year we want to double down. We want to do 200 million for 400 transactions. So that's our goal. And we're moving forward.
Awesome. So you said, man, so your world specifically, you were just talking about the retail side or resale side. So you got in 2015-ish, and you've kind of been growing that ever since. I did read an article online that you went from like 6 million to 40 million in your first 3 years, right? And then last year you just did about 100 million, and you want to now double it to get to 200 million. Is that what I heard?
That's right. And I will say this year we, it was a tough year, to be honest. We had really projected higher numbers. And in 2021, we did a little over 100 million and more transactions. We did about 250 transactions. But the market towards the end of the Q4 really kind of shifted on us a little bit. And so, again, it's about failing forward and understanding what changes do we make and how do we keep evolving as the market evolves, right? And so the big thing for me is making sure that I'm creating a world big enough that my agents want to stay in it. They want to stay in business with me and learn from me, and how do we grow to support them and their goals. And so, yeah, we want to do 200 million next year for 400 transactions. So here we are.
So that's powerful. And so I've been involved in the Be Wealthy group for the last 18 months, and I indicated it on a post yesterday, but one of the biggest advantages of being in this group, or one of the best benefits, has been the access to people that just think bigger and are just doing things at a much higher level. And so is there like a mentor of yours, or like going from 100 million to 200 million? There's a lot of people in the industry that for some reason are scared. It's a shifting market. It's went down 30%. So we're going to project 30% down. Like, what do you contribute towards like your mindset, just your past experience, or is there a specific thing?
I think a big thing for me is being learning based, and it's always it's branching out, right? We're in a small market, and it wasn't until my first year in real estate, I was at a small boutique firm, and I remember explaining what I wanted to do, and pretty much people laughed. They said, the average agent sells 5 to 10 houses a year and don't expect to make any money your first 6 months. And my first year in real estate, I think I did like $150,000 in GCI, right? And that was with a pretty big split. I wasn't at a company like Keller Williams that gives you a cap. And so, in hindsight, looking back, like what could that year have been from a financial standpoint? But it really was about not staying in that box and not listening to the naysayers and figuring out how do you grow and expand. And so at that time, I actually had to go to Hilton Head, which is about an hour away, interviewed with Keller Williams. We didn't even have an office here. And it was about just kind of being a trailblazer and endurance, right? It's about not listening to what everybody else is saying, putting your head down. And my girls will tell you, run your race with blinders on. So for me, it's not about looking at what everybody else is doing. It's about setting the goals and being so laser focused on those goals. And it doesn't matter what everybody else is saying. And I've said, turn the news off, stop listening to what real estate is doing and what are the national trends. I think being learning based and understanding what is going on is super important, but also you have to have a positive mindset, or else, what you focus on expands. So focus on the goals in front of you and run towards them as fast as you can. I think that's what I would say is the biggest attribute, is just putting the blinders on, having grit and endurance, and just pounding through it.
I love that. I mean, you got me energized. I feel like I need to go increase my goals right now. So just thinking about that, Be Wealthy and this group, they have also showed me like real estate sales. That is definitely one piece of the foundation that generates a cash flow for us to create this, life by design, or the life that we want. And so I've heard from some of the resources that I asked about you that you also are into rehabs and flips of like beach homes. Is that true? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we pretty early on, my husband and I say we, because I could not do it without him, decided that, we really love rehabbing all things. We rehab all animals and all the things we can rehab, but we also rehab houses. And so I love old houses. I love the ability to bring them back to life and help them find their glory days. And so we've done a few different beach houses that have been great income producing properties. I will admit, I did not know what I was doing when I started it. We just said, this seems like something that the numbers make sense, and let's just go for it and get creative and be conservative. That's a big thing for us, and know that our margins are there. And so we started doing it as a team, and we love doing that together. That's something that my husband and I, it really has brought us together and helped us kind of work as a team outside of the marriage aspect of it. And so it's evolved and gotten a little bigger, and now we hire people to do some things. And so it's a learning lesson. It's failing forward in every single thing you do, right? And so we're doing one right now that's been kind of a cool concept, because when I originally went at the property, it's not a beach house. It's going to be a long-term rental. And what I decided to do was subdivide the parcels and make it 3 income properties from one purchase. So that was kind of interesting. And I actually got that idea from being on a call like this and listening to somebody talk. And so I said, instead of just keeping it, the property we purchased, we subdivide it, put 2 new properties on it, and now we have 3 income producing properties. And so that's been kind of a cool learning lesson. But I guess for me, I think people are looking for a handbook, right? They're looking for like the easy button. And I think that what helps me is just this level of not having so much fear around the mistakes we make, because I think a big thing is, just because you failed doesn't mean you were a failure, right? We have it in our head that we can't fail. And I think sometimes just allowing yourself the permission to maybe mess up opens some doors for you.
Absolutely. I mean, analysis or paralysis by analysis, a lot of people want it to be perfect, right, before they make a decision. And so I think that's super cool that you have your husband involved. I'm assuming he's not involved in the retail business. He helps you with your guys' flips and that kind of thing only.
Yes, he's I don't know if he's as excited as I'm excited to have him, but yes, he is very handy, and he's got some great skills in tile, and he can do anything really that YouTube will tell you to do. So we've learned together.
Cool. Do you mind sharing, like, what does your investment portfolio look like? I heard Airbnbs. I just heard long-term hold for the parcel you separated into 3 units. Like, can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we've got 2 Airbnbs, we've got 2 long-term rentals, and then we've actually just acquired 2 pieces of land that we don't really have a game plan for yet. The big thing for us was knowing that they could be subdivided so that we could put multiple parcels on them and hopefully have them as long-term rentals. And so the one that we just purchased, that was a house that we decided to subdivide, that should be done in about 5 or 6 weeks, and it's on track to be our 3rd long-term rental. So that's kind of our portfolio right now. But our
Awesome.
goal 5 years ago was to add a rental income property a year. And now our goal looks like, don't limit ourselves to one. If the opportunity is there, go after it.
No, that's powerful. And so you basically have a plan for like acquiring properties, and these are like beachfront properties that you're, whatever the best use is for them, Airbnb, midterm, long-term, you're just going after it as long as they're income producing, the numbers make sense.
Yeah, one of my dad's best friends years and years ago told me rentals are your retirement. And that's always stuck with me, is understanding just the concept of mailbox money. And so again, you kind of said like analysis is paralysis, and it will happen because some people are super analytical and they want to know, like, is it a 1% return? And what am I getting for it? I'm super conservative, and I will be honest, I look at things as, real estate is a long-term investment. It's not a commodity. We're not here to just try to flip it and sell it. I don't flip and sell. That's some people's game, and I don't understand enough about that. I work with a lot of investors, and I'm involved with them at that level on it. But for me, we really love rehabbing, bringing them back to life, and holding them. So this is more of a long-term game for us. And if anyone wants to educate me on the short-term game of it, I'd love to talk with them about that too.
Well, this is definitely a platform or a room where people are doing it all kinds of different ways. And so there's definitely resources and human beings on here that could help with that. But it seems like you're doing some awesome things. And so you mentioned in there, you discussed like not being afraid to like pull the trigger, right? Allowing your failures to actually be lessons that you learn, right? And so one of the questions I have for you is, how has a failure or a parent failure set you up later for success? Like, do you have a favorite failure of yours?
From a team standpoint and from being a business owner, I and I still do take it very personally and find it to be something that I weigh on, that if somebody leaves my team, right? If I can't get maybe that square peg into the round hole, and it still is a fear. I struggle with it every day. I want to be a people pleaser. I want to make a space for everyone to exist in. And last year we lost somebody that was very dear to us, and their business grew, and we didn't grow fast enough for them to stay in our world, right? And so that was a big failure for me that I took very hard. But I learned so many lessons from it. And I would say it's my best failure because, the world opened up after that. My mind opened up after that. And we wouldn't be where we are as a team and as an organization if that wouldn't have happened, because it really was the catalyst that made me stop, self-reflect, look in the mirror and say, where do I want this company to be? And what do I need to do to make sure that we keep top performers? And sometimes that's a hard conversation to have with yourself, but it takes things that initiate those conversations within yourself. So that was a big failure of mine that has really helped us move forward.
No, I can appreciate that. I appreciate the transparency and leadership as well. Funny thing is, I had that same experience last year. And so I had a producer that did over 40 units on our team. He had been with me for like 3 years. Prior military, we were super close. I know his family, and he decided to move off. And a mentor of mine, I had told him, I was like, man, it was unfortunate that he left. And he responded to me, it's not unfortunate. People are always looking for change, growth, and what can support them. And so it is our responsibilities as leaders to nurture and grow them and to create a world big enough where they can thrive in. But if they create one big enough, like, it's okay, like change is okay. And so similar to you, it was like, man, well, how do I replace that? How do I create a world big enough that people like him want to stay? And it's definitely been a game changer. And so I just wanted to say thank you, because I can definitely relate to that very specifically. And so you discussed, you have your retail team, your husband helps you on these rehabs, right? And it's cool because you keep using the word rehab. And I think that meaning or that word has a special meaning to you that people on the call may or may not know. Can you elaborate on why you like using the word rehab and what is the cool thing that people may not know that you do?
Yes, so we again, my husband and I don't know how much he loves it, but he's along for the ride. We do wildlife rehab, and so we bring in anything and everything. People know me as the rehabber, and so we will have baby raccoons dropped off on our doorstep, and possums and rats and squirrels and deer, fawn and fox and all the things. And so anything that's pretty much indigenous. I got a pigeon. I had a pigeon 2 or 3 weeks ago that was very interesting. And so we do all things rehab, and that's very near and dear to my heart. It's part of my why, and our 5 and 10 year goals is helping animals and doing rehab and bottle feeding and raising them to the point that they can be released back into the wild. So that is something a little unusual, but it is something that's very important to me.
The rehabber. And so not to tie everything back to business, do you think that that's kind of like a brand or a niche that like people recognize you as now that has helped your business too?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes I think, golly, if my phone rang as much for just people calling me out of the blue to list their house as many people that bring me rats, squirrels, and possums, we'd hit our 400 transaction goal really quickly, So maybe, thank you for that tip. Maybe I should go ahead and like do some rebranding on that.
Nah, that's super cool. And so just a quick pause for housekeeping items for those that may have joined in late or joined in after we just got started. I am the guest host, Kaleo Kina, aka Agent K. I've been with the Be Wealthy network for about 18 months now, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Allison Greco of the Greco Group out of South Carolina. And so if you have any questions, whether you're on Facebook or whether you're in the group, please put it in the chat or put it in the comment section. Cinderella will be able to let us know which questions to be asked, and we can ask the questions to Allison. So one of the amazing things about networking group is we get the opportunity to rub shoulders or virtually do that with special guests. And so Allison Greco is one of the top producers in the nation. She is a huge reputation in KW, not only for her retail team, but also rehabbing beach homes. And so I want to give you guys the opportunity to ask your questions as I continue to run this interview with her. So thank you for that. And we'll get back to the questions, Allison. And so you've talked about where you started. You kind of talked about where you're at. We've been in and out of like your business, a little bit about you. And so could you tell me, like, in the last 5 years, and you got in 15, so you've been in a little bit over 7, like what new belief, behavior, or habit do you think has most improved your life?
I think the big thing that I had to learn and start doing, I'm very boisterous and loud and go all the time. And I wake up and it's boots on the ground, and I go to bed, and one thing that I had to really coach myself to do and understand is moments of silence, clearing the chaos. Some people will roll their eyes at this word, but manifesting, taking that moment every day for it to be quiet and to write my thoughts down and to dream, right? Because I got so busy my first 2 years as a solo agent, and at one point I was running like 100 transactions with no admin and a solo agent. I mean, it was just crazy. And I wasn't happy, right? I was running a business that was making me a lot of money, and I was very wealthy from a bank account standpoint, but maybe not wealthy in other ways. And so learning that like life is all about balance. And so the big thing that I would say that I do every day, and we coach our girls and our team around, is taking that moment to dream, to write your thoughts down, to manifest, to journal. I know it sounds silly, but it goes a long way.
No, I think you're just in complete alignment with some of the direction of what that means. We have our next Be Wealthy Mastermind in Nashville in a couple weeks, and I do believe that some of the required reading for the last one or this one was a book called The Dream Manager. And so
I just
it's
read that.
so it's unique that you just brought that up. That has been a favorite of mine. And so could you elaborate on how that affected you? Was that the aha? Was that you have been working so hard for so long that you didn't allow yourself to dream about what you actually wanted?
Yeah, I think it's for business and personal, right? But and by the way, our ALC had to read the dream. We got the opportunity to read the Dream Manager, and I just finished it, and it was really great. And so now the team is reading it. But so I highly recommend it. It's a quick, easy read, but it really is. It's good. I think it's twofold. It's personal and business. I think that you get so busy working in your business that you're not working on your business, right? The moment came to me when I had to drive to Charleston or somewhere an hour and a half away, and I decided to turn the radio on. And I ended up taking the entire drive silent, which is very odd for me because I will like blare Alanis Morissette like as high as it'll go in the car, right? And so I was quiet, and I thought, gosh, this is weird. And then I really let it sink in. And by the end of the drive, I grabbed a notebook and I just started like, this is what I need, and this is what I want to be, and this is where this can go. And it really started just growing and growing. And then all of a sudden I started going back to the things that I used to do, like vision boards and writing down my goals. And then you turn around and you're like, oh my gosh, I did that. I feel so accomplished by that. And so it was really just a natural thing. It wasn't forced. And then the more I realized that this was something I was missing and I was not doing for myself, I started doing it personally. And I started saying, like last year, I always tell the team, we need to put it out into the universe, what we want, what are big dreams and goals. And October of 2021, we all went around the table and said, what is just a huge goal, a huge dream that you don't think you'd ever be able to accomplish, that you're gonna accomplish next year? And I said, I'm gonna take my parents to Africa on safari. I'm gonna pay for the entire trip, and we're gonna go for like 2 weeks, and I'm not going to work. I want my team to be able to run the entire thing. I don't need to pick up my phone the entire time. And honestly, when I said it at the time, I didn't believe it. And then I felt like very accountable because I had told all of them that that's what I was going to do. And we did. In September of last year, just a few months ago, I took my parents for their 40th wedding anniversary to Africa on safari, and I didn't work, and my team had it all figured out. And it was really kind of an amazing experience. But, if 5 years ago, I didn't take that one drive and realize and have that aha that sometimes you have to have silence, and you really have to be focused and write these things down and be intentional about the life that you want to live. It doesn't just happen. You can't just wish it, right? You've got to be intentional about it. And so, I think manifesting is a very powerful thing.
So I love all of that. I'm not trying to get too mushy. I think we're going to be best friends. You're going to be my next new best friend. But when they brought in the Dream Manager, I do believe, especially for high drivers, high producers, like we get addicted to the grind. In the military, I did a 9-month deployment and 11-month. And so like I'm used to working hard. Like that's just a real thing. Like execute the mission at all costs. And while it was a positive towards accomplishing, growing a team, right? Buying a market center, like having a team do 300 units, all of those things. I woke up one day and Brett Tanner had sent me the Dream Manager before he released it. And he said, hey, you need to read this. And I read it. And the part that hit me was the personal part, that I woke up, and my wife and I have 3 kids under 5 and one due in April. And I realized, what is my wife's dreams? And so I say, I work so hard for my wife and my family. And I put this thing out there that I'm a great husband and dad. And in that moment, I was like, I don't even know her dreams. And that hit me hard. And so then I actually bought a Dream Manager. Well, I bought a notebook for my entire retail team, for my wife. And I said, hey, we're just going to write dreams down. Can't be my dreams or the kids' dreams. It needs to be your dream. Because I forgot what it was like to like really have that. So like for me, it was super profound. I'm not trying to go too far into it. But another thing, Gary Keller always talks about that, right? Like we live our life in 3 segments: work, play, and learn. And it's never a balance of like a perfect balance. Like some days, sometimes you're going to work a lot more than you play and learn. Sometimes you're going to get to play and go on these vacations and you're not going to work or learn as much, but you got to get comfortable in like your cycle of life, but you're going to spend different amounts in those areas. And so that is super powerful. So staying there, when you look at your journey, and that was just awesome. You're able to take your parents and now you're doing rehabbing animals and homes. So you're doing investments, you have a retail team. When you're looking at like a brand new agent, what would you give a smart, driven new agent or investor about to enter the real world, like entering this game, especially at this time where there's a lot of noise out there? What advice do you think they should ignore? And you alluded to it earlier. You're like, all of it, just do your own thing. But like, is there any specific?
No, okay, I have it. Okay, so the advice that I'm a little bit of a rebel, but I think the advice that they should ignore, and I tell this to my niece often, is don't color in the lines. You know, if you look at life and you look at what we as a society, I think, are like trying to mold, and it's very, this is how you should do it, and here's the box you should be in, and this is the color of crown you should use, and you should color in the line. It goes back to running your race with blinders on. Like, you know, come up every once in a while for air and be inquisitive and be learning based, but it doesn't matter how everybody else is doing it. It really doesn't, because you are you, and you are smart, and you can do whatever you put your mind to. And so I think that my advice would be a disruptor. Don't be afraid to be a disruptor, and don't color in the lines.
I love that. I can tell you got a little gumption to you out there in South Carolina. And so with that advice they should ignore, like that's great advice for them. Don't color in the lines, be a disruptor. Are there anything you're seeing out there right now that you think are just bad recommendations for agents or investors, like in general? Because there's a lot of noise right now. There's a lot of noise everywhere talking about this and that. Is there something that you're like, that's just bad advice?
This is a hard one. I think at a local level, for me, what I'm hearing a lot is just the difference of real estate agents coming into the market. There's a lot of naysayers. There's a lot of people saying the market's crashing and this is a terrible time to get into real estate. Some of the biggest businesses that we know were built in a recession, right? It's lean in. And so I think that's a big one, is that don't listen to that noise. It's as good of a market as you want to make it. And this is an amazing time to take market share. You know, I am not great at this. And so this is, for me, probably a drunk monkey that I need to get over. And why I'm going to bring it up is that there is space for everyone everywhere. If you want to build your business by being a top social media influencer, go be a top social media influencer. Like, that's my drunk monkey, is that I can't do it. Right. And also, you know, or you can't be number one because she is. Like, I heard that a lot. Right. And I did it in 12 months. And so, you know, I guess it just goes back to putting the blinders on. Right. Don't listen. Maybe listen to the advice, but have a very, very strong filter on what you're bringing in.
No,
because you can do anything. So I think that's a big one.
I just get a lot of like self-confidence and self-belief coming from you, just emanating out of this computer. I think it's powerful for your team and the people around you to have somebody like you in their circle that's always thinking that like, I can, we will, you know, we'll get it done. And so, not to jump around a little bit, but it was something that just popped in my mind as I was reviewing everything you've been saying. You know, you talked about the agent on your team, or in leadership, you had somebody, you know, very productive or positive in your world that left. And so can you talk about what your org chart looks like on your team? And I'm asking that because I think there's 2 mindsets out there around recruiting or like growing a team. One mindset is get as many agents as you can and the strong will show up, right? And the other mindset is you're going to recruit the same amount of people, but you're only going to pick the ones that are in total alignment with what you got up front. and then you hope that you can grow them into like, are you a hybrid? It feels like you're more of the latter, but like, can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, so we're definitely probably more of the latter right now. I mean, again, right, run your race with blinders on, but come up for air and listen and observe. I've seen a lot and understanding from what we think the future is going to hold for teams, that success is in numbers, profitability is in numbers. It's all about recruit. In reality, that's a difficult model because you have to have the bodies there to support that recruiting. We're not here to just say, come on board. We are super hands-on. And by we, I mean myself as well. I am one-on-one with my people. If they need me, they're a phone call away. And so we're probably more like a hybrid. We're trying to go into a growth phase where we want to be a team that can support many lifestyles. But I think at the end of the day, you have to be driven, and you have to be humble and kind. That's something that we found just doesn't work if you're not. But I think you're right. I think that you need to, for us, we're the difference between the small and mighty, because we have grown a little bit, but we're not at 25 agents. And so understanding how can you like naturally and organically scale, our main focus is our agents and their why and their goals. And so if I find that we can bring on 2, 3, 4 more agents and they say, hey, look, I want to do 50 transactions my first year in real estate. If I know that I can put the plan in place for them to accomplish that, and it doesn't take away from the people that are already working really high at a high level on my team, then I can feel good about that. But for me, I don't want to just build a team to build a team. The biggest thing and the biggest attribute to where we are today is my director of operations has been pivotal in my growth. So we do have a director of operations. We have a transaction coordinator who is supported by a cyberbacker, and we have a listing coordinator who is also supported by a cyberbacker. So that's kind of our base org chart. And then our next hire and the goal for 2023 is to really implement a true director of sales. We really don't have one. And we are very like red light, green light, and trying to understand without just disrupting the whole model. We've added some mentorship opportunities for our agents to grow on the team, to help recruit their downline, help them by teaching their learning, right? And so we've tried to restructure our org chart in a way that everyone benefits. And I don't have a report for you if it's working just yet, but we're working on it. And I think it's working. I think it's working well for where we are as a team.
Awesome. And then you mentioned the ops side. What's your agent count at?
Our agent count is at 9 agents.
Cool. Including you or not including?
Yes.
Cool. And then do you have like an agent avatar? We all have like our ideal clients, right? And so is there like an ideal agent that you know works very well in your system?
Well, we typically attract what we are, right? And so,
well, I have a team.
The team that we are right now is not the team that I hope we will be next year. I really want to lean in and have my team encouraged and empowered to grow within themselves, and financially they'll be better off and all of the above. And so definitely that high D, that high driver, super driven is somebody that I have found works best in our environment. But say again.
No, I didn't say, sorry. I think I'm having a lag.
We might have lost her. We'll see if she jumps back in real quick.
I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry.
No worries at all. For those on, I'll do a quick.
Kaleo?
Yes, can you hear me? And we are trying to get Allison Greco back on. Cinderella, thumbs up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, there might be something with her connection. Okay. Hopefully we'll get her back soon.
I don't know if it's me or is it me?
Yes.
I think you're good now. I think you're good now.
Are you back on, Allison? Can you hear me? I think there's a lag. And so Cinderella, while she works that and tries to get it on, Allison Greco has been on with us for about 35 minutes. Huge retail team out of South Carolina. And she also does rehabs, beachfront rehab. She's also split parcels, so tons on the investment side with her husband. Cool, unique thing is she actually rehabs animals. And so she does all of that from her house. And so if you have any questions since you've been on, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. We'd love to answer them and to get them asked to her as we continue to work through some tech. And so
am I back? I tried to do it on myself, but I don't know what's going on.
Hey, Allison, can you hear us?
Yeah, that I don't know what's going on, but I just did it on my cell phone to see if that worked. I don't know if that fixed it or not. I'm sorry.
No worries. We can definitely hear you now. So we are good to go.
Well, here we are. I don't know if you can see me, but you can hear me. So there you go.
Way to rebound. And so, no, that's awesome. You were discussing your team and the agent and your growth for next year. And so you're like in that, well, you're not in it, but like there's always that messy middle, right? You're small and mighty, you're entering a growth phase. You want to double your production from last year. And so you're really, trying to do that organically. And so we're super excited for you to do that. And so let's wrap it back to, you mentioned The Dream Manager was a recent book that your team and your market center or your brokerage and ALC had recently read. And so what do you think is give me your top 2 books that have had the greatest impact either on your mindset or your business. Could you give me those 2?
Yeah, I will give you the one that I think if you have not read it, you need to run out right now, or run out. I guess you can, I'm like 34 going on 85. Get it on Spotify or whatever the kids do these days. But The Go-Giver by Bob Berg. That is, to me, I read that right when I got out of college and I got into kind of the business aspect. And that really is just a powerful book. It's a little lesson about, a simple business idea. And I think that it's really, really impactful and really important to share with those around you, even your kids and your spouse and people on your team. It's a great read and it's quick. And honestly, I read it once a year.
Every year. I read that for the first time this year, or 2022. And so I loved it. I read it on a short flight, but it had some it had some legit life lessons. Is there another book you recommend as well? Because you obviously love that one, so you're probably a reader.
I do love that one. So one of my girlfriends just forced me to read Traction. It's the first book in the EOS system. So that is a game plan of really kind of breaking my models down and going full force into understanding the EOS system. And that book is called Traction. And then, of course, I cannot not mention MREA. That is something that I read that when I read The Go-Giver. So if you have not read Millionaire Real Estate Agent, read it again and again and again.
Gotcha. And so not just because you're with Keller Williams at this moment, but what do you think out of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book is the most impactful? Is it the business models? What would you say?
Yeah, well, I think that the growth and understanding of how to grow the business, when to grow the business, right? Because if you break it down, it really just breaks down 7 steps of when you get to this is what should happen. And, at 36 transactions, don't go out and hire a buyer's agent. You should hire leverage. You should understand leverage and how that can help you grow and expand your business. And from a business standpoint, it just makes sense, right? Don't split your commission 50-50 with the buyer's agent. Get somebody that you pay $20 an hour to leverage your time. And it really increases your hourly wage and rate as a real estate agent. And you can try to build this from the ground up and fail many, many times, or you can read the red book that
basically outlines it for you and tells you exactly how to do it. So nothing to do with me being at Keller Williams. Love Keller Williams. But I will say that MREA, I think it's really like the Bible of figuring out how to build a big real estate business.
No, I can definitely respect that. And I would say, like, as you read that book at different levels of your business, you take different things out of it, right? And so I'm not going to lie, I was an English major at the Naval Academy, so I like reading. It is the driest reading ever if you try to read it from front to back. And so when I first got in the business, I also was at a local boutique brokerage and I thought it was trash. I'm like, what? Half the book is mindset. I already talk about that stuff and I didn't understand the other concepts. But I think if you're really trying to be a business owner or run it, and then remembering that it was teams that are netting $1 million to their bottom line, right? So it's like the level that he's looking at is as you grow your business, you start to tie those things together. Oh, that's why the chart of accounts is set up that way. That's what cost of sale and expenses need to be set up this way. And this is how I maximize my profit. And so I also believe that it can be applied to other businesses. And so it is not real estate specific. I have a huge JV in a mortgage company, but I launched a settlement company. I've looked at insurance, and honestly, most of the business attributes I apply to those companies are from the same concepts I applied to growing my retail business. And then we launched a wholesale company, which we've been 6 months and it's been awesome experience doing that too. So I do agree with you that it's a fundamental book to not just real estate business, but business in general. And so as we continue on, we got about 19 minutes left, and I do want to leave some for Q&A at the end. So I had some quick fire fun questions for you. And so one of them that they like to ask is, what purchase of $100 or less has positively impacted your life in the last year or so?
Okay.
Or are you not buying anything under $100 and you're a little bougie? I don't know. Which one is it?
Oh gosh, no, I have a $20 clothing limit. No piece of clothing in my closet costs more than $20.
Really?
So yes, that is a thing for me. And if I want something bad enough, I better watch it go on sale. And the funny thing is you get to a point where you're making a lot of money and you're doing all these things and you're like, yeah, but can't I buy those $80 shoes? And it's like, no, you cannot. You have to have discipline, right? So, okay. I spend more money on animals than anything else. And so the answer to this question is, the one thing that has positively impacted my life is a 16-year-old coonhound that I adopted from the animal shelter.
Oh.
And he cost, I think the adoption fee was $89. And he has positively impacted my life. He has brought me a lot of joy. He has done nothing but cost me more money. So I know this is a wealth call, but I would say my answer would be Rusty, the 16-year-old coonhound that I bought from the animal shelter.
I wouldn't have guessed that it was going to be an animal. Actually, I would have after figuring out you were the rehabber, but so I could respect that. And so the next question is, what do you think on your wealth journey or your business journey and your life journey has been one of the best or most worthwhile investments that you've ever made? And it could be an investment of money, but it could be of time, of energy. Like, what is one of the biggest investments you've ever made?
I will do another shameless plug to KW and say that right when I switched over from my boutique brokerage, I took Bold.
Really?
And I did $799. I took Bold, and it was really a cool moment, right? To go from a company that doesn't focus on business to understanding that real estate is a business. And so if I had to tell you one thing, especially in this journey, I think that was a pretty pivotal moment for me, was making sure that I really dove all in and I took Bold, and it was a pretty cool experience, and it really set me off on the trajectory that I'm on now.
Awesome. So Bold is business objective life by design, and essentially it's a training and education class. And so I'm assuming that you are a big advocate of like education, like being a professional learner. And I remember you saying earlier in the call that you got the idea of splitting up those parcels into 3 income producing units by a group you were involved in. And so how valuable do you think like networking and like huge groups like the Be Wealthy Network group and other groups you see, like are you actively looking for groups to go learn in, or like what does that look like for you?
I think the biggest, yes, I think that you have to get out of your comfort zone. I think a big thing is, run towards discomfort. That's a big thing that I remind myself all of the time. And I've become very comfortable in uncomfortable situations now, because I never want to be the smartest person at the table or the most productive person at the table or the wealthiest person at the table. I want to be the bottom. I want to be surrounded with people that are bigger than life, right? And that know so much more than me and that are so much more educated, because that's the way that you learn and you grow and you absorb. And so getting out of your bubble, getting out of your comfort zone is the most important thing you can do. And it is uncomfortable. It is. It doesn't feel great to go, well, at least for me and my personality, I'm high D with like no I, right? I have 0 I. So I don't want to go and be in a group of people that I don't know. And it's exhausting and it's stressful and all the things, but I learned to just make that part of my daily routine. And yes, I think seeking groups and ideas and collaborating is really important.
I love that. I'm a big advocate of relationships in general. That's one of my tenets, is like relationships can take you, further than any degree can. And so I'm even more appreciative of being able to sit on a call like this with you and kind of get to know you and your business. And who knows what happens for the future. Besides us being best friends, we might get involved in some other things. And so one of the last questions I'll ask before we wrap it up and open it up for Q&A, but if there was a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, metaphorically speaking, and you could just put one message on there, it could be a quote or something you live your life by. I think I know what it's going to be from a couple that you said today. You're a quote queen. Like, what would be on your billboard?
So I have not said this one yet, but this one is on a lot of stuff for me. And it is actually from the Go-Giver. But it's your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. And thing for our team, it's not about the money you're making. It's not about how much they're going to pay you or counting commissions, especially in this industry. If you focus on what you are giving in value, your world will open up. I
love that. I want that quote. Cinderella, can you send that quote in the chat so I can make sure I'm putting it on Facebook after this call? I had a buddy of mine, he says, like, in giving, you're always receiving. And so it's very applicable to that. And I tell people all the time, like, I almost have made it a negative. Like, I selfishly love to give because I know that sometime down the line, you're going to receive it back in some form or fashion. And so we're kindred spirits in that aspect. And so last 10 minutes of the call coming here. We don't need to use all 10, but I did want the opportunity. If anyone had any questions for Miss Allison Greco, she's been an amazing guest. I've loved learning about all of her things, from retail to rehabs, to getting to know her a little bit as a person. And so I'll give a couple minutes for the opportunity to ask any questions. And Cinderella, I'm not sure if we see anything on Facebook, but let me know if they have any questions there as well. And then, yeah. Allison, did you have anything to share or that you would like to tell the masses that I didn't ask you about?
I feel like I've talked a lot. I don't know. I think that I think the biggest thing and the biggest hang up is for people in all aspects of life is overthinking. It's just do it. Like, if I wouldn't, get in trouble for like stealing Nike's, branding, that would be my branding. Like,
just do it. I like it.
Do it, because it's the truth. We overthink. We spend so much time preparing and like getting ready, and you're never really ready, right? And so I would say that confidence comes from preparation. That's really what it boils down to, is being prepared, but you don't have to be over prepared. Just get it done and go do it.
Gotcha. And then it looks like they want you to repeat your quote. Can you repeat your quote one more time for the Facebook
Yes.
viewers?
From the Go Giver. So go read the Go Giver, but it's your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment.
Love it. Love it. Well, Cinderella, if we don't have any questions, can you go to the next slide as we wrap up? And so, as we wrap up, Allison Greco of the Greco Group out in South Carolina has been an amazing guest. She shared a ton of gems. I'm definitely looking forward to potentially getting on her calendar and seeing if I can get to know her a little more. But we also have the Be Wealthy Network and the Be Wealthy Group. And so if you didn't know, we have Scale to Wealth, right? You can sign up for the Scale to Wealth program. Essentially, it's a business booster. And so there's weekly calls, live calls, Monday through Friday, whether it's on operations, whether it's on retail, whether it's on wholesale and investments, legends calls, meaning we get exposed to super high talented people like Allison Greco. And then there's also deal breakers. So Brett Tanner comes on and actually breaks down deals, kind of like Allison's. If she had one on a piece of land, he will do it live. So all of us can continue to get better educated on the different resources and opportunities to scale our wealth. And so if you're not part of the program, I actively am involved in it with my team. Please scan this and find out more. We'd love to have you. Otherwise, that was an amazing time. Thank you, Allison, for your time. We appreciate you. I do plan on seeing you at an event here within the next month. And super excited that Darren recommended you to us. And I'll be following up. But thank you, everybody else, for being on the call, and talk to you soon. Thank you, Cinderella.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth.